For the first time in years, we finally have real, official, fresh updates on Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse. And these aren't just small production whispers. We're talking about Sony Animation presidents breaking their silence with bombshell production details, new updates from the cast, confirmation that recording is already underway, and updates on the first looks of Spot's dark redesign in this movie. But that's not even the craziest part, because we also have some insane updates from the producers themselves, beyond just production. Let's start with the freshest, most official update we have. Sony Pictures Animation presidents Christine Belson and Damien DeFroberville sat down with The Hollywood Reporter and officially confirmed that Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse is now in full animation. Not pre-production, not development. Active live animation. And DeFroberville didn't hold back. Here's the direct quote. On Spider-Verse, I was like, how are they going to top Across the Spider-Verse? And then we're looking at art and design for Beyond the Spider-Verse, and it's really blowing my mind. We look at a lot of art, but what we saw at the last presentation, I'm like, wow. That's the president of Sony Pictures Animation, a man who has seen everything this studio is working on, and that's what he said about this movie. Now think about what that means when you remember how insane Across the Spider-Verse looked. If the people making this film are that blown away by what they're seeing internally, we might genuinely be looking at the most visually ambitious animated movie ever attempted. Could any animated movie actually top what 2023's Across delivered? Drop your answer in the comments, because based on what we're hearing, the answer might actually be yes. Now let's talk about the villain updates, because this is where things get genuinely disturbing. And I mean that as a compliment. The Spot, voiced by Jason Schwartzman, ended Across the Spider-Verse as the most dangerous being in the entire multiverse. As we know, his dimensional portals are now so powerful that he's essentially become one with the fabric of reality itself. He arrived back in Miles' home universe with one goal: kill Miles' father, Jefferson Davis, and make Miles suffer. But when he returns in Beyond the Spider-Verse, the Spot is not going to look anything like he did before. Producers Phil Lord and Chris Miller have both teased a major visual overhaul. Lord told Variety, "It's going to transport you to realms of abstraction that I believe will be truly remarkable." And Miller added that there's some new things that are developing for the look of what Spot does specifically that are actually going to be great. In Across, the Spot went from a guy covered in white patches to a walking void of pure dimensional terror. Now they're saying that visual is getting pushed even further into pure abstraction. I think his design may literally become something your brain can't fully process, because the character who is the multiverse's instability might visually look like the multiverse breaking down around him. Let me know what you think about him in the comments. And yes, there's a twist coming you probably didn't expect. We have more crazy news about the Spot's role, but this isn't even as crazy as the stuff we're going to talk about in a few minutes. Because we have new updates about characters, delay, Lord and Miller revealing live-action Spider-Man offer, and more movie updates. This dropped just days ago, March 2026, and it is huge. Jake Johnson, who voices Peter B. Parker, confirmed in an interview with Screen Rant that he is actively in the recording booth for Beyond the Spider-Verse right now. His exact words, "We've been doing recording." And when asked about the script, he called it so good. He also added, "Anything with Chris and Phil is worth the wait." Coming from someone who has worked with them across multiple Spider-Verse films, that is a serious statement of confidence. Now, for anyone wondering, no, Jake Johnson is not interested in doing a live-action version of Peter B. Parker. He shut that down completely in the same interview, saying, "I wouldn't want to do it." He specifically praised Nicolas Cage for making the leap to live-action Spider-Noir, but made it clear that animated Peter B is where he lives and where he's staying. Now let's talk about another update on the cast. Scarlet Spider, because there is a fascinating multi-layered story happening here. Andy Samberg voiced a parody version of the Scarlet Spider in Across the Spider-Verse, a character drenched in 90s nostalgia, with a hoodie, inline skates, and absolutely no chill. Samberg recently told Screen Rant, "I truly know nothing. I hope that I have more in the next one." He continued, "It seems like Ben Reilly should be back based on how the last one ends, but I never count on anything in this business. If they want me, I'm there for as much or as little as they need." But here's where this gets layered. Ben Reilly is also the name Nicolas Cage's character goes by in the upcoming Prime Video live-action series Spider-Noir, which drops May 27, but, and this is critical, Spider-Noir showrunner Oren Uziel confirmed to Empire magazine that the live-action Cage version is completely separate from the animated Spider-Verse universe. Quote, "Same character, different universe. It's a different flavor of that character, even though it's still Nick's voice. It's not a continuation of Into the Spider-Verse." So Cage's live-action Ben Reilly and Samberg's animated Scarlet Spider exist in totally different corners of the Spider-Man multiverse, but the fact that the name Ben Reilly is being positioned as a mystery in the live-action show, combined with Samberg hoping for a bigger animated role, could Sony be seeding something much bigger across both? Let me know what you think. But guys, here is the wild part. In an exclusive
Want to play an instrument? Musician is the easiest way to learn guitar.
Sit down with Collider ahead of Project Hail Mary's premiere, Phil Lord broke his silence on production in one of the most detailed updates we've gotten from him directly. His quote, "We're in the middle. The story's wonderful. We have great collaborators. We brought on Alice Brooks to DP the show, and she's shooting it virtually, which is really exciting. And some great new castmates. Sorry to be so coy. I have more updates on her later, but first, at the time of me making this video, here's the piece of news that dropped this morning. In a new interview, Josh Horowitz asked Lord and Miller point blank, have they ever been offered a live-action Spider-Man movie? Miller's answer, just yes. He wouldn't say which one, but Lord joked, I would long to have the headspace available for another one of those things. So somewhere in Sony's history, there was a live-action Spider-Man project with Lord and Miller's names on it, and we never got it. They also revealed they had a fully developed treatment for a Flash movie that was pretty different from the 2023 version that released, and Lord said it's a good idea that I am afraid to not be able to use someday. But back to Beyond, Miller confirmed something massive about the pipeline. We ported some interesting stuff over from Project Hail Mary. The virtual pre-shoot methodology they used on Project Hail Mary is now being applied to an animated Spider-Man movie. That is a level of cinematic craftsmanship almost nobody saw coming. Moving on, guys, let's talk about what Phil Lord and Chris Miller have described as the tone of this film. Because the word they keep using is emotional, Miller told Collider that Beyond the Spider-Verse will be a very emotional film, and given how much narrative weight is riding on this trilogy's finale, that's not hard to believe. He also confirmed that new cast members are coming, some great new castmates. Sorry to be so coy. Lord confirmed the film's scope at CinemaCon, calling it a massive finale to the trilogy and promising it is designed for the biggest screens. He added, it's on track and it will be stunning and heartfelt. And as for the question of whether Beyond is truly the end of this story, Miller was careful. It's the last of this trilogy, he said, with Lord echoing that exactly. The choice of words, this trilogy feels very deliberate. The emotional core of this film, as Lord and Miller described it to Screen Rant, comes down to a single question. When your family is broken apart by your calling, your talents, how do you put them back together? How do you have it all? That's the breakthrough they needed to make the story work, and it lines up perfectly with everything Miles has been building toward across 2 films. Here's a massive piece of news that proves Sony is all in on this animated universe even before Beyond is finished. In February 2026, Sony Pictures Animation officially confirmed that both the Spider-Gwen solo movie and a Spider-Punk solo movie are in active development. And you guys probably know this if you watched my previous videos about the movie, but the new update on this is that Christine Belson told The Hollywood Reporter, I'm not allowed to say the details, but we are active on both. For Spider-Punk, the writing duo of Daniel Kaluuya, the voice of Spider-Punk himself, and writer Ajon Singh, has reportedly been brought on to develop the story. Both films are being held until after the Spider-Verse trilogy concludes. So Beyond the Spider-Verse isn't the end of this universe, it's the launchpad. Sony is building an entire animated Spider-Man franchise, and the 2 most beloved breakout characters from across are getting their own standalone adventures. Now, let's move into something that gets moved to the back of the video for good reason. Because as fascinating as it is, it's the kind of context that matters most once you already care about the movie itself. Beyond the Spider-Verse was originally set to release March 29, 2024, less than a year after Across the Spider-Verse hit theaters in June 2023. That didn't happen. Then 2025 came and went. Now it's officially dated for June 18, 2027, a delay of over 3 years. Lord and Miller finally explained everything. The core issue was structural. They initially planned 1 movie, then realized there was too much movie there, and split it into 2. But once they looked at the second half of that split, they realized it didn't have a story arc with a beginning, middle, and end. Miller put it plainly, having to take it apart to put it back together again was really the real thing that made it take longer. They had the ending, they just couldn't crack the middle until they found the emotional core about family and calling. Lord added a candid admission, and then we took a small detour directing Project Hail Mary, but it's worth acknowledging that the scope of their creative ambitions across multiple projects contributed to the timeline slipping. Every piece of news we got in 2026 points to the same thing: Sony is not playing around with this finale. Let me know what you guys think about all this. I am Brian from Cinema